James DeLacy here from Sweet Science of Fighting, back with another program breakdown. Today, Makeo, hopefully I said that right. This is an interesting one. We're going to run through a program breakdown or roast for Taekwondo, Olympic level Taekwondo. So this would be a very interesting one. Again, I didn't do any prep work before this because I want to just kind of talk through it with you guys so you can get an idea of maybe my thought process behind this. Maybe learn something, maybe not. Again, no one way to do things. Always making assumptions, even with a lot of information, so just bear that in mind. So, Olympic level Taekwondo fighter, not MMA, but follow us. That's all good. Sweet Science of Fighting, we do all combat sports, not focused on just one. Main goal is to make 2028 Olympics. Awesome. Shorter terms, winning the world champs. Are you involved in a national team training program? Because since it's Olympic level, I'm assuming. I don't know. Maybe hit me back on the email, okay, what's going on there? Because typically if you're training for World Champs Olympics, you're normally part of a government-funded sports program that does all your strength and conditioning. So just let me know. But not super periodized currently, but it does a significant taper the week before a competition. Okay, so his weekly schedule, jam-packed. High intensity intervals, and then skills in the evening. So I'll take skills in the evening all the way through. Sunday's the off day from skills. Okay, damn, there's a lot of training. So are you full time? Again, let's just assume that he does this and he has a part-time job. Let's just assume that. So we have skills 6 days a week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strength and conditioning sessions. 6 skills, 6 strength and conditioning sessions, 12 sessions total. I guess the first thing I would ask is how do you feel currently doing this? Do you feel recovered? Do you feel like your skill sessions aren't negatively affected by the amount of stuff you're doing right now? That would be number one. You need to basically ask yourself that question. If you feel like your evening sessions here and even your morning session here on Saturday, or your important sessions at least, like this one here, you feel good, you feel fresh, then you're sorted. If you feel like these are compromised, then you may need to look at changing something in there. But we're going to go through because we've got some more detail. So I'll run through this briefly, then we'll come back and we'll go into real detail. So high intensity interval training 1, long intervals 2 to 8 times 90 seconds, 5 minutes. So I'm assuming that just depends on maybe the week. Again, maybe you're going longer, further out to a competition, a little shorter, closer to a competition. Neck, cool. Abs, cool. Lower and upper 1, so very strength-based. Bench, curl, very strength bodybuilder-esque. I'll come back to that. Short intervals, and then lower 2. So that looks like it's RDL, okay, full deadlift. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of volume incline because you're doing the same muscle groups twice. So the question here I would have for you is, how do you feel after doing this 4 days a week? And we'll come back to that more. And then sprints. Nice. Okay, cool. Next big event is US Open, February 17. So that's in a month or so. This was sent to me a few weeks ago, so let's just assume this is part of like a quote-unquote 8-week fight camp. Been training at a very high level for 3 years since 2017. So he's 20, I'm assuming, which means he's young, so he can probably handle a lot of volume. Been in and out of residency programs. Torn left ACL, 2023 in competition. Torn left meniscus, 2024 while squatting. Torn right. Ooh. I'm doing skills after returning training from. Ooh, damn. Okay. Current stats. Okay. That's a good math score. Voice commercial journals as far as equipment goes. Transpire with others. Okay, cool. So first looking at this, let's start with the injury. Torn ACL, real knee problems here. So that's something we're to be careful of. And something you need to probably think about is are there certain movements that flare up pain? So does doing a 1.5 or 2 hour skill session, does that start to flare up pain? Does doing a lot of squats, leg extensions, Cossack squats, Bulgarian split squats, ATG split squats, in the same week, does that start to flare things up? That's just something to be aware of. It's good that you're doing these movements because it's going to help. It's going to help thicken the tendons and ligaments in your knee. Obviously, the meniscus is cartilage, so there's not much growth happening there. Okay, so you've had surgery on the meniscus too. So I'm assuming some of that got taken out. So let's come back to the programs. Sorry about that. So first thing I would look at, Taekwondo is a weight class sport. I'm assuming you don't have a problem staying in your weight class because of the type of training you're doing. However, I think you could condense the weight training. Let's start with the weight training. I think you could condense the weight training to potentially be more beneficial for Taekwondo. And what I mean by that is, this is very volume strength based. Like, this is the kind of program I would give someone if they were just looking to gain mass with no other goals in mind. It would actually work pretty well, to be honest. For someone like you, who is going for a higher level of Taekwondo, where you have other qualities that are probably more important than strength. And when I talk about more important than strength, I see striking combat sports more on the velocity end of the spectrum, grappling arts more on the strength end of the spectrum. And like, someone's like a grappler, like jiu-jitsu, and plays like maybe like a really bottom heavy game and stuff, they can get away with stuff like this because it's so slow, a lot of isometric contractions. Being big and muscular is probably helpful in those situations. In Taekwondo, not so much. And I would argue that if you do this long enough, the adaptations you gain from this type of training could potentially negatively affect speed and power. Now, you're doing a lot of volume on the mats, so you're probably not going to see that kind of negative effect, not for a long time. But I think there could be something that can be done here. So I would even condense this to 3 full body sessions. It'll also give you more rest in your schedule because your schedule is jam-packed. It's pretty much doubled, except for Thursday and Sunday. It's double days. And that's a lot of work. So even if it was, say, you have sparring on this day, on Thursday, so even if you did your first, say, full body session Monday, and then you could even, and then did your second full body session here, because you've got rest and then sparring, and then did your last full body session here, then that leaves you even Sunday for complete rest as well. Because you can tack on the alactic sprints at the end of one of those full body sessions. And that will condense your schedule. It'll give you more recovery time. And I honestly think a lot of problems that come from training programs is just trying to ram everything into the 7-day schedule, right? Because you could even, for example, if you still wanted to do this upper lower, you could just do 1 upper, 1 lower, and then do the second upper lower the following week and make it into a 14-day microcycle instead of a 7-day microcycle. And it'll stop you trying to ram everything into 1 week. That's just something that I do it with myself. I try and ram everything into 1 week too. It's not something that, it's a common thing. It's a common thing, I'll put it that way. And regarding the full body sessions, I would significantly drop the volume. And I would start, I'm assuming in these session 10, the skill sessions, you're probably doing a lot of low-level plyometric low-level plyometric movement, just because of how the nature of Taekwondo. So perhaps during some of these sessions, and especially if you're going to change it to a full body, or if you're going to keep it upper lower, you would start the session with some kind of jump. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on your knees. I don't know what the deal is with there. If the knees are a problem, you can also do throws, a good option, if you can't do jumps for whatever reason with the knees. Or you can do some, depending on your skill level and what you know about lifting, Olympic weightlifting derivatives. Again, still a lot to learn. The third option, which I really like for old athletes or athletes like yourself who maybe have those old injury issues, is using what they call like an oscillatory isometric I don't even know what to call it. Either way, it's like doing like a 1.5. So you could do an oscillatory isometric. Oh, stupid thing. Or you could do like, say you're doing a Bulgarian split squat, you come down like your hands supporting you, and you do like a little pulse at the bottom. You maybe do like 2 pulses and up, then down 2 pulses, just to be able to get that fast firing on and off. You want that reflexive action, and you kind of lose that when you're doing just a lot of really basic strength training. So that's something I'd add in the beginning. Either those kind of oscillatory isometrics. I've got a video somewhere. I'll see if I can send you a video, Mariko, on an email. Okay, sorry. Jumps would be number one for me if your knees can handle it. Otherwise, you can do the other ones and throws. When you get into your main lifts here, let's just say it's the lower upper. You would do just squat, and again, 3 sets of 5 might be cool. And then obviously you probably want to cycle in some lower rep work. You might get down to like 3 sets of 3. You might even, what I like is going up to say like a heavy 1, 2, or 3. And by heavy, I don't mean a max, just something that's fast, smooth, with some weight in the bar. Drop down, do a couple of back off sets of say 3. That'll get you enough work. And then you do some kind of posterior one. So you got hip thrust here. That's cool. And then you got RDL, 8 to 12. I would even drop those reps too. You can do RDLs heavy. In this instance, I'll probably just take one of these out, to be honest, and just put it on the second day. So just be squat and RDL. I don't know if you need to do leg extensions because of your previous knee injuries or not, just to strengthen the quads. Probably something to keep in there for now. You mentioned your squat 5 rep max of 225 pounds. So you've definitely still got some room to move in terms of strength. But because of how much skills training you're doing, you can't be doing the volumes that maybe are quote unquote optimal for strength and size, right? It's a trade-off. So you just need to go for a minimal dose. And that might be, as I mentioned, going up to a heavy 1, 2, or 3 just to get a feel for some heavy weights. Come down 3 sets of 3, 2 sets of 6, or no, I mean, it's a billion rep schemes you can do there. So it's just a matter of keeping the total number of sets relatively low. So you might do squat, RDL, and then you might finish with Cossack squat. You don't have to have everything in there. You can take a lot of that out. Same thing with the upper body. I like that you're supersetting push and pull. Makes it a lot more efficient. Again, bench is relatively low. Whether that matters or not, probably not, to be honest, with Taekwondo. But regardless, you can do the same thing with your squat. Squat, row, curls, and then Arnold press, pull-ups. So I would do your Arnold press and pull-ups before you do your bicep curls and French press. Nothing really wrong with that session. Just obviously, if you feel too fatigued going to technical training, I would drop it. Deadlift, Bulgarian split. So you've got deadlifts, and you've got remaining deadlifts, and you've got hip thrusts. I would honestly even just take that out. I don't even think you need to do that. I would shift then either the hip thrust or the RDL down here. You've got Bulgarian split squat, 8 to 12. Again, I would drop the reps on that unless there's a specific reason you're trying to do higher reps. Hamstring curl. You probably do need some kind of leg curl variation because of your previous knee injury, so that's cool. Potentially, you want to progress to more intense variations. So 2 up, 1 down with the hamstring curls, a really good one you can start to use. And potentially, you could progress to doing more glute ham raise or Nordic curls, etc. But 2 up, 1 down is a really nice eccentric overload you could do here too. I would probably get rid of this because you're already split squatting and you're already squatting, and I don't really see much benefit in doing that kind of split squat anyway. I'm assuming you're doing that because of your previous knee injuries, but to think this strengthens the knee any more than what you're currently doing is good marketing. And then seated calf raise. Yep, nothing wrong with calf raises there. Calf raises just gives you some strength work for all the bouncing you're doing around. Same thing, incline bench rows, dips, chins, push-ups, lateral raises, more bodybuilding, upper body stuff. I don't mind it. Same thing with the, like you did with the lob, like I mentioned here, doing jumps or throws, and maybe do some jumps or throws here. Same thing with upper body. You could do some throws before or as part of your program for some upper body speed work. You could even do like some kind of complex if you're doing bench supersetted with like explosive push-ups, that kind of stuff. Those can be options too. It just depends on how you really want to structure that strength training. If it's going to be full body or upper lower. If it's going to be full body, you would do something like explosive movement, heavy lower body, heavy upper push, heavy upper pull, and then any accessories you need to do if there are any. And that would be the basic template. And then obviously you can tweak it based on what else you wanted to do. Regarding the intervals, so we have 2 interval sessions. Now they're both, I guess you could say, they're both centrally biased, as I'm targeting adaptations at the heart, or even like VO2 max, I guess you could say, to an extent. Now the longer the intervals here, a little higher lactate, which is nice. You're going to get some peripheral adaptations around the muscle with these, depending on what modality you're doing too. So I'm assuming these are off feet, like bike or rower, etc. Or we will assume that anyway, which is completely cool. I would say if you are this close to competition, with this amount of volume of work, this can add a lot of volume on top of it, these short and long intervals, because these are like 20 to 40 minute sessions. Probably around there. And I think you're better off trading that volume for intensity, because you're not going to have that same fatigue. So doing the sprint intervals I talked about a lot on the channel, which would be 6 to 30 second long intervals, 1 to 2 minutes of total work time. So if you're doing 30-second intervals, it will be 4 maximum and 2 minimum. And then you're looking at like a 1 to 2 to 1 to 8 work to rest. Obviously, the longer the rest, the more quote-unquote power-based it is. The shorter the rest, the more quote-unquote endurance or conditioning-based it is. So you can, if you wanted to, you could just go from, say, like longer rest intervals to shorter rest intervals just to give you that variation. But I would probably, especially this close, even like a month out, can those. Boop, take them straight out. And then throw in this sprint interval. 2 sessions of sprint intervals. That means you could get rid of those 2. So literally, if you went to a 3-day full body and you changed the high intensity intervals to sprint intervals, you could completely cut Sunday. Boop. And then that's a rest day. Boom, that's a full day of recovery. Awesome. If you really wanted to do something, like you're one of those guys that like can't not do anything, I got one of my players addicted to video games because he was one of those that could not train. I'm not saying get addicted to video games, but if there's something you can do, and if you must do something, 30-minute go for a little swim, or easy bike ride, or hike, or walk, I should say, something like that. If you have to, ideally you'll do nothing, like literally nothing. Sit on the damn couch. That's the best way to recover and eat. Skill, yeah. Honestly, that would fit a lot better in my opinion, just based on the information they have. Okay, and then anything else we need to cover? Yeah, so, and your conditioning's good. Like 4.3 MAS score. It probably means you don't need as much of these long and short intervals anyway. The sprint intervals will probably give you a better bang for your buck. So hopefully that covers most of it. If there's anything I missed, maybe I'll touch on the plyometric aspect there. Because Taekwondo is typically so bouncy, I don't know if you would want to add... Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if you would want to add more intense plyometrics into the training here, just because of the training volume you have. Maybe if you weren't in a competition period, you would be doing more plyometrics in this training. But because you're training for competition probably often as well, I would limit the plyometrics in this. It's nice that you're doing the heavy strength stuff because you're not getting that in the training. But I would do some form of jumping if your knees can handle it. And again, as I mentioned, if you can't jump, throw and do a lot of them. Scoop tosses, rotational throws, all that kind of stuff. And you could do quite a few of them too, because they're not I guess residually taxing. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. They're not gonna destroy you for the technical training sessions or for your gym session. And then completely drop the volume. So if I was gonna go like this, boom, and then I would paste that, get rid of the deadlift, bang. Like even just that change would make such a huge difference. That one change, and then this one, like a 2 up, 1 down. And then get rid of that. Like that's already a big change, just doing that very simple thing. So, yeah, hopefully you guys get something out of it. Just remember, like, you don't have to try cram everything into 1 week. volume is going to be your main killer of performance. Like most fighters over volume because they want to work, they want to grind, they want to get everything done, they want to outwork the competition. But trust me, that mentality works when you're younger to an extent, and then it works against you. And if you can, instead of trying to go kind of sprint this way up and then start to decline, if you can just gradually build your way up there, you're gonna be far better off. You're gonna have better quality technical training sessions, which is the most important part. You're still gonna get stronger and you're still gonna get fitter. So bear that in mind. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is a bit of a longer one. Please let me know in the comments as well if you like this. I'll have a video up here of the next one, of the previous ones I've done. Yeah, these are good. These are fun. So email me if you have programs you want me to roast and break down. I'll see you in the next one.